It's for thoroughbreds 3 and up, and all carry 126 pounds. Well, now we're going to go behind the grandstand here to the beautiful paddock area to meet our professional actors. They are fresh from rave reviews in Saratoga Springs, New York, in their production of Love Letters. They were known there as Melissa and Andy. You know them better as Charles C. Caddy and Dave Johnson, and it's showtime.
Well, it was fun, but it's nice to call you Charles C. again.
Well, Andy, it was a great experience, but I'm glad to be back at the races, and we got a good one.
And at this racetrack, even with $1 million on the line, the horses and their connections are all looking forward.
Even though the rain washed away our last chance for a big showdown today between Lure and Star of Cozzene, the Breeders' Cup is still their focus, although they'll run in different races. Lure will be pointing for the 1-mile turf, whereas Star of Cozzene, who must be supplemented, will be aiming for the 1.5-mile turf race. Ironically, his sire, the champion turf horse Cozzene, won the 1-mile turf race in 1985, but apparently his son is a little longer-winded.
And Star of Cozzene still has 1.25 miles to go against tough competitors, so let's take a look at the entire field for the Arlington Million. We start with Lil Bro Lantis at 30-1 and jockey Kurt Bork. The 20-1 shot Evanescent has Aaron Greider, the rider. Peter Davies starts at 30 with Frankie Dettori. Star of Cozzene starts at 6-5, will probably go lower, and Jose Santos in for the riding assignment. Scratch the 5-horse Lure. Ledger Cat with Corey Nakatani at 8-1. Then number 7, Coaxing Mac, a long shot at 30 with Early Fires. Dear Doctor, last year's champion, 8-1 with Corey Black, and 20-1 the price on the final horse in our field, number 9, Kent de Sormo's mount, Johann Quatz.
Well, they come from around the world for this kind of money, and for our French visitor, it's a familiar rendezvous. Dear Doctor flew in from Chantilly last year. There you see him along the rail in the blue and white silks, and he staged a major upset of eventual turf champion Sky Classic, who's got the lead now, but there goes Dear Doctor on the rail, and certainly he's hoping for deja vu all over again. One of 2 California invaders is Leisure Cat, a 7-year-old Argentine bred who began his racing career the year Star of Cozzene was foaled. The old boy's won 2 graded stakes already this year. Locally based Evanescent has developed consistency since being gelded earlier this year. This come-from-behind victory in the Arlington Handicap earned him a chance today in the Arlington Million, and he loves it soft.
And the favorite moves up a bit when there's a cut in the ground, as they say. The first time that Star of Cozzene beat Lure, well, it was this year, the day after the Belmont in the Manhattan at Belmont Park. Let's take a look at the action from June the 6th. Now, Solar Splendor on the inside, and the white cap just gives way. Lure takes command, and on the outside, here comes Star of Cozzene. The key to victory was that he was a lot closer in this race than he had been to the pace in other races. So Star of Cozzene carrying only 118 pounds to Lure's 124 on a turf course labeled good, broke 5th and rallied up and took this race at 1.25 miles by about 1 length. But the handicappers here at Arlington have somewhat of a puzzle. Either they take a very heavy favorite, or maybe a European invader, or maybe they're looking to the 1.25 miles, that elusive distance, or what part the weather plays trying to pick a winner.
Well, the very heavy rains have given us a deep and soggy turf course, and when it gets this heavy, then that's when you'll see some very bizarre reversals of form.
Chris?
All right, thank you, Dave. And Chelsea, there you see Artie Hubbard on the left, the chairman of the board of Hollywood Park. He awaits, along with his trainer, Dick Mandela, the arrival of the 6th horse, Ledger Cat. He'll carry their colors, along with Artie's partner, Dr. Ed Allred, from the Daily Racing Forms band here at Arlington. Marty McGee on his million pick.
Well, I was very much prepared to pick Lure to win this race. Maybe Arlington should have gone ahead and moved this race to another venue. But anyway, I think what it does is leave Star of Cozzene as the obvious class. He figures as the odds-on favorite, and deservedly so in here. It might mean a little something different in terms of pace. I think Little Bro Lantis might go a lot farther on the lead. So the way I'm going to play it is try and use Star of Cozzene over a couple of long shots, Little Bro Lantis on the lead, and then perhaps a couple of European horses. Johann Quatz is bred to like the soft going, so I'll use a couple perfectas that way.
Thank you, Marty. In the past 12 runnings of this race, the USA horses have won 8. There have been 2 winners from England, 2 from France, including last year's winner. Chelsea?
Doctor is back here to defend his 1992 championship here in the Arlington Million. His trainer, John Hammond, British-born, Chantilly-based. And John, he won that race most courageously last year, I thought, in spite of a lot of problems.
I think in a way he's maybe a horse that helps him to have a few problems in running and come from behind. He seems to run well like that.
Well, Came from fairly far off the pace. We're going to take another look at it. I'm sure you won't mind watching that good race again. There he is in the blue and white silks along the rail. You must have been a bit distressed at this moment.
Well, yes and no. Cash knows him very well. He gave him a lovely ride, and he's a horse that likes to come from behind between horses. It sounds strange to say it, I was almost confident at this point here, really. His heel was quick and swell.
And he finished up well under Cash Asmussen. He gets Corey Black today. Let me ask you this. He has not won a race this year while racing in France. Why is that?
Earlier on in the year, he was carrying a lot of weight. He was always giving a lot of weight away. And there were a couple of races that just really didn't go right for him. Obviously, he's 6 now. He's a year older. Things don't get any easier as you get older, but he worked well the other day.
He looks smashing. I saw him in the paddock. Obviously, he's traveled well and he's thrived since he's been here.
Yeah, he's traveled well. He looks good, and I'd have preferred a lower draw. I think that might be important.
Best of luck to you, John. You and Dear Doctor looking to be the first horse and trainer to win back-to-back Arlington Millions. Chris?
Hearing from John Hammond, the young trainer of Dear Doctor, and back here adding to the international flavor of the Million here this weekend. We're getting set for the post parade now to introduce you to the 8th that will run for the $1 million purse, $600,000 to the winner. Let's start with the one horse, Little Bro Lantis, a $12,500 claimer. This South Dakota bred has won 5 races, earned over $200,000 since the claim. The rider, former Louisiana riding champion, Kurt Bort. Little Bro Lantis is 19-1. Evanescent is the 2-horse, a $15,000 Keeneland sale bargain. He's earned more than $500,000. He was supplemented to this race for $50,000 by owner Mark Levy, trainer Lou Goldfine, after winning his last 3 stakes all here at Arlington. The rider, one of the best young riders, Aaron Grider, his first time in the Million. Evanescent at 7-2. The 3-horse is Peter Davies. He is 17-1. Another Keeneland sale purchase, $20,000. A multiple stakes winner from England. He's making just his 10th start. The rider, Frankie Dettori, top young English rider. He was 8th in the Million last year. The 4-horse, and here is the race favorite at 6-5. The great star from the East, Star of Cozzene. First or second in all 8 starts this year. Winner of the Caesars International and the Manhattan. Looking for his first Grade 1 win of his career. The rider, Jose Santos, an Eclipse champion rider. And he won the $89 million on Steyler. The 5-horse Lure, of course, as you know, has been scratched. Let's pick up Artie Hubbard and Ed Allred's Ledger Cat at 6-1. Comes to this race off a second to Kodashan, the great race horse on the West Coast. That was in Delmar's Eddie Reed Handicap. Argentine bred, oldest in the field of 7. The rider, Corey Nakatani, his first start in the... for this race. He won the stakes earlier at the fairgrounds. His son, Matt, out there, a 4-year-old, owned by Elmer Miller, trained by Neil Pessin, and ridden by the veteran 46-year-old Early Fires rider here. Johann Quatz. That is the one trained by Ron McAnally, as you see galloping off here. Oh, let's pick up the 8-horse. That is Dear Doctor as he galloped out of the parade under rider Corey Black. Dear Doctor, of course, the defending champion here in the Arlington Million. And Corey Black has the riding assignment. There's Kent DeSomo, and he has the assignment of Johann Quatz for Ron McAnally. Johann Quatz comes off a win at Hollywood in the Fiddle Isle Handicap. He's a Group 1 winner in France at the age of 3 before coming to Ron McAnally's barn here in the States in late April. Johann Quatz with Kent DeSomo. He was 2nd in the 1991 Million. There is the field for the 1993 Arlington Million, mile and a quarter, $600,000 to the winner, Arlington Million. And as the Million horses prepare themselves on the backside before crossing over to the main turf course for the mile and a quarter classic, let's take a look at the Am-Tote odds update. Little Bro Lantis at 21-1, Evanescent getting a lot of support at 9-2, Peter Davies at 17, Star of Cozzene is the even money favorite. His rival Lure scratched earlier in the day. Ledger Cat at 6, Coaxing Matt 24-1, Dear Doctor, the defending champion, trying to become the first Million horse to repeat as a winner, and Johann Quatz, both of them at 5-1. Well, we talked about the favorites for you. Now we're looking for some value in this Arlington Million as we turn to Dave Johnson for the Million's Budweiser Longshot.
For an
international race like the Million, a truly multicultural Bud Longshot is in order. He's Johann Quatz, bred and raised in France, now owned by Japanese interests and imported to America in the care of Eclipse award-winning trainer Ron McAnally.
Well, most Europeans, especially from France, they tend to get a little bit rambunctious and studdish and typical Frenchman. Occasionally he will have that little trait about him, but for the most part, the only thing he does that I don't like is that he sweats an awful lot. But it's part of him, you know. I've seen horses before where if they stop sweating, then they quit running.
And McAnally hopes Johann Quatz has just begun to run, coming off his best American effort yet. Actually, he'll be just fine if he runs to his pedigree. He's a half-brother to Hernando, winner of the French Derby, and one of the best 3-year-olds in all of Europe. So here's hoping the opposition will be doing the sweating today as they deal with Johann Quatz, our Budweiser longshot.
Johann Quatz opened at 20-1, looked like a great overlay, and you can see they bet him down to 5-1 now. But Ron McAnally got just what he wanted, a cool day and a soft turf course for Johann Quatz. He's the Budweiser long shot. As you take a look at the turf course, we'll head to break and salute Howard Tim Whitbread, honored as the July Owner of the Month by the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association. Our congratulations. 1,000 square feet of a racing palace, Arlington International Race Course. On the day they run the Million, gray, overcast, heavy rains earlier, and a soft turf course. Well, my leading lady now, Chelsea Kenny, is back here with us. Chelsea, we got to talk about a little pace for the race here.
Well, there isn't really a lot of that. Even when Lure was in, he probably was going to sit a little off the pace. The only horses that show any speed at all don't really have true speed. Leisure Cat and the little Cinderella horse, Little Bro Lantis. They both want to be close, but they don't have any real turn of foot, so we're not talking about much pace here today.
Mark Henning's a 24-year-old trainer of the best grass horse in the East. They say 28 years old. I gave him a little age there. Star of Cozzene. And we talked to Mark earlier and asked him of all the great races Star of Cozzene has run, and he's been first or second 8 times. Which one would he most like to repeat today?
Well, I felt like the Caesars was our horse's best race. I thought that Lure snuck away from him in the turn, and I really felt for an instant like we might have been in a lot of trouble, but our horse dug in and really kept coming. I thought he made a little bit of a premature move that day, and Mike knew that we were on his tail. He looked over his shoulder about the 3/8 pole and knew we were closer than usual at that point, so I think therefore Mike moved a little earlier than he would normally want to. But obviously I'd like a repeat of either the Manhattan or the Caesars.
28-year young Mark Henning, and there is Star of Cozzene. There you see him now held at 4-5 here. Chelsea, we have some veterans in the field for the International Million race here today.
Well, they say that horses stay sounder longer on the turf. We have 3 5-year-olds, 1 6-year-old, and 1 7-year-old, and that is Leisure Cat, who you can teach an old dog new tricks. He likes to lay a little closer to the pace now. He was very tough to beat last time out. Contenders, who's the best grass horse probably in California, had a hard time getting by him to win the Eddie Reed last time out. So watch him.
Let's check the stakes and the course record here at Arlington International. It is Perrault, one and the same, 1982, 158-4 for Perrault. Well, as they load up the 3-horse Peter Davies, let's go to the top of the stands here and to Dave Johnson for the Million.
And there's Frankie Dettori aboard Peter Davies, who's making his United States debut. Black blinkered Peter Davies is now 19-1. And there's the big horse, Star of Cozzene, at 4-5 with the big white shadow roll. This consistent horse is now ridden by Jose Santos. Moving into line. Of course, Lure is scratched. There is Early Fires, one of the best riders around. Certainly good on a front runner. Although the roan colt he's on today is not expected to be in front. Longshot Coaxing Mac is trained by Neil Pessin. This horse has victories at Keeneland and Fairgrounds a bit earlier in the season. There goes Coaxing Matt, the only roan in the field. Now, Dear Doctor, Corey Black aboard last year's winner of the Arlington Million, and the Bud Longshot, Johann Quatz, moves in, and they're off in the Arlington Million. And toward the inside, Little Bro Lantis gets away quickly and moves right to the rail. On the outside, Ledger Cat in the red and black cap moves up to challenge early. Peter Davies just off the pace in the white cap is racing third. Then the Roan. Coaxing Matt on the outside, fourth by ahead. At the rail, it's the favorite, Star of Cozzene. Two back to the Bud Longshot, Johann Quatz, followed by Evanescent. And Dear Doctor, last year's winner, is at the back of the pack, about 8.5 lengths off the leader. And the leader is the 25-to-1 shot, Little Bro Lantis, who skims the rail and rounds the first turn with a 1-length advantage. Ledger Cat in pursuit from the outside with Corey Nakatani right there in the second spot. And Frankie Dettori has Peter Davies up close in third. Star of Cozzene saves ground along the inside, fourth at this point, about 3.5 off the lead. Then Coaxing Matt on the outside is next. The Bud Longshot is next along the inside. That's Johann Quatz, followed by Dear Doctor, and Evanescent, the late runner, is at the back of the pack. The half and 50 and 2/5 seconds. And now Ledger Cat charges up on the outside, but Lil Bro Lantis not going to let him pass as they move down the backstretch. On the inside, Little Bro Lantis, but on the outside, here comes Ledger Cat. Now those two match strides. They race as a team. Ledger Cat on the outside takes the lead by a head. Little Bro Lantis is in second. Along the inside, here comes Star of Cozzene. He's fourth and moving up into third position. On the outside, Peter Davies is right there and showing some late speed. Now midway around the turn. On the inside, here comes a Lil Bro Lantis, Ledger Cat. Evanescent from the back of the pack has made his way through. Peter Davies, and here comes the Bud Longshot. Johann Quatz, 5 of them across the track. They're at the top of the stretch. And Evanescent, the local horse, on the outside. On the inside, Johann Quatz, the Bud Longshot. But here comes Star of Cozzene on the outside, mowing them all down in the Arlington Million. And Jose Santos aboard. It's Star of Cozzene under the wire to take the million by 3. Evanescent second, Johann Quatz third, followed by Dear Doctor. What a finish as Jose was biding his time down the backstretch, content to save his mount for the home stretch, and boy, did he have it left. He gets home. Star of Cozzene in 2 minutes, 7 and 2/5 seconds.
Well, they call him the Beast of the East, and you see why. Chauncey, he looked hopelessly blocked under Corey Black as they turned for home. He had to wheel him way outside and then turn him loose. And Star of Cozzene has won his first Grade 1 of his career as he has added to his bankroll, moving now over $1.8 million. Let's take another look here at Star of Cozzene and watch as Corey Black had some real work to do.
Well, frankly, his trouble started long before that, 3/4 of a mile in 15 and 4, and he was way off the pace, and still here has a lot to make up. As Evanescent, who has won on the soft turf here, looks the winner, but here comes Star of Cozzene under Jose Santos, flying by on the outside. Once he got loose, he was full of run. Jose Santos was the only rider in this race to have won $1 million before, and don't let that final time fool you, 2:07 and 2. John Henry won the first Arlington Million in exactly the same time under the same course conditions.
Thank you, Chauncey. Jose Santos, the cricket. I was watching Corey Black, who was trapped with Dear Doctor, had nowhere to run, and Jose Santos showed his winning form. He won the $89 million on Steinle. Now he comes back to grab the 93 on the Star. There he is, the real racing star, Star of Cozzene. April, trainer Mark Hennig waiting for his winner to come back. Star of Cozzene, ridden by Jose Santos, owned by Team Valor, Barry Irwin and Jeff Siegel. Sired by Cozzene, out of the PS Star mare, Star Gem. And there's Mark Hennig welcoming back Jose Santos and Star of Cozzene, the first Grade 1 victory for Star of Cozzene. Boy, he has been some kind of sensational this year. It is unofficial. We have an objection, but it does not involve the winner. There you see the lights flashing. The horse that ran second, Evanescent, a claim of foul by Johann Quatz, the 9 horse, unofficially third. So it is unofficial here at Arlington. Time again, 2:07 and 2. A great ride by Jose Santos, the veteran. Dave Johnson will show you how he did it.
Well, also, let's speculate on this objection. We have the 9 and the 2 blinking, which here in Illinois means that possibly the 9 horse, and that is in the pink cap moving just behind the first flight, and the 2 horse in the yellow cap, that's Aaron Greider with Evanescent on the outside. At this point in the race, Evanescent seems to come in just a little bit, and Johann Quatz has to take up just a tiny bit. At this point, the winner is behind. Now, the 9 horse and the 2 horse are both going to move in toward the rail. The Bud Longshot on the inside, Evanescent on the outside. The winner still not in your picture. And now as they roll for home in the Thrifty Car Rental replay, you can see that Aaron Greider is getting into Evanescent right-handed. On the inside, Johann Quatz is on even terms, and the winner is not even in the shot. There he is. Here's the Mark Hennig and Jose Santos combination teaming up with Star of Cozzene to win it. The inquiry, the objection, not involving Star of Cozzene. He looked great today, didn't he, Charlesy?
Aaron Greider was aboard Evanescent, who finished second and is involved in the blinking lights over there. Aaron, give us some insight on what happened.
He ran a tremendous race. He was settled for me real early. I was real pleased where he was at. Coming around the turn, I went outside of Coaxing Matt, who early fires was on. Seemed like we were all right, and Kent was in a trap in behind him. He tried to ease his way out, and there was some contact, but if anything was caused, any damage was caused, I felt it was by his horse when he was coming out.
There you are on the far left. Has it already happened here, hasn't it?
Yes, it's already happened. He was behind Frankie Dettori's horse, and, you know, he was trying to look for some room. He had nowhere to go, and he eased out to get some daylight, and when he did, he made contact with my horse. So I felt if there was any problem with anything, it was
there we are again.
him.
There's the pink on the inside is Johann Quatz, and that's you on the outside in the
Right.
yellow.
You can see my hind end getting turned out from underneath. When Kent was trying to make room. But you got to give Mr. Levy a lot of credit. He supplemented this horse for $50,000, and I thank him for having the dream and the confidence in this horse.
Hey, very good. A good ride aboard Evanescent. Aaron Greider. We go back to Chris Lincoln.
There's a rider's objection. The lights are still flashing. The Arlington Million, at least for a place in a show, is still unofficial. But there's no doubt about who the winner is. There he goes, Star of Cozzene. For the Arlington Million, Governor Jim Edgar. There next to the trophy, and then jockey Jose Santos, Jeff Siegel, Barry Irwin, Mark Hennig and his wife. The connections with Team Valor and Star of Cozzene. Coming up tomorrow night, a World Boxing Organization. Flashing here, Dave, on the objection. That's to Dave Johnson.
Well, let's take a look this time at Star of Cozzene. Fourth in the red cap on the inside, and just sneaking past Frankie Dettori with Peter Davies in the white cap on the outside. They were still running at Ledger Cat, who had put a head in front. Little Bro Lantis on the inside rail was saving ground. Evanescent on the far outside, but watch Jose Santos. He's behind that wall of horses looking for anywhere to go. He's got a ton of horse, and now he shows it. And Star of Cozzene shows us why he becomes the 13th winner of the Arlington Million. Not unlucky for this son of Cozzene, and rolling home. What a stretch drive. With Evanescent, the unofficial place horse, an objection against him by the 9 horse who finished third for that incident at the top of the stretch, which is now not been allowed. It's official. Chris?
All right, Dave, when we return, we'll make the Arlington Million of 1993 official. We do know Star of Cozzene is the winner. He is not Breeders' Cup nominated. We'll talk more about that when we return.
International Racecourse just outside Chicago, Illinois, where the 13th running of the Arlington Million is official. And this trophy goes to Star of Cozzene. Hey, catch all the action. Find out what happened in the year's Arlington Million. Star of Cozzene, the favorite, won it. Evanescent upheld the claim of foul. Johann Quatz held on to the third spot. Dear Doctor was fourth. After that, it was Peter Davies, Coaxing Matt, Lil Bro Lantis, Ledger Cat was 8th and last. Now let's go to Charlesy and the winning trainer.
Well, everybody's all smiles now, but I think there were a few tense moments when Star of Cozzene was looking for somewhere to go. Mark Hennig, the trainer, you must have had a heart-stopping moment or two.
Yeah, we had a scare turning for home, Charlesy. I thought we might be in trouble. At the last race, we got boxed in down there on the rail, and it looked like we were in the same position, but Jose said everybody else was moving early, and he knew that our horse would kick the last 3/16, so he let them all go by him before he asked him.
Well, we're going to take a look at it. Jose's here in the red cap. Jose, there you are. You've got a wall of horses. Where were you going?
I don't go anywhere. I was saving some ground, and I looked back a little bit in the 316 pole, and I saw all the horses start moving around. So I know with this soft course, they want to get tired and open up, but I didn't panic and went to the outside and let my horse run, and he just blew by. I don't know how far he went, but I'm pretty sure he went pretty easy.
Well, you had to be pretty cool about it, because right here, Evanescent looks like a winner, but here you come, streaking by.
Well, soon when I come into the outside and hit him once left hand, and he just took off like he already broke from the gate. But
like the good horse he is. Mark, I've got to ask you now, surely they're going to put the money up for the Breeders' Cup supplement.
Well, we're going to look at it. You know, we're going to see how it comes up as we get a little closer. You know, neither distance is our best distance, we feel, so we'll take a hard look at it and do what's what our connections want to do.
Star of Cozzene was clearly best today. Congratulations to you both, and we'll go to Chris Lincoln.
Well, they'll have some thinking to do, Team Valor will, Jeff Irwin and Barry Siegel. It would take a 12% nomination fee to make him eligible for the Breeders' Cup. Now, thinking they would go in the big race, the $2 million turf, you're talking about $240,000. 12% because the sire is Breeders' Cup eligible, a former Breeders' Cup winner, Cozzene, but he was not as a full nominated. So they have a big decision to make, the start of Cozzene.